I'm Sade Better-en-Moi.
And I'm Diana Williams, and all new this half hour, an Eyewitness News investigation into a man with no medical license on Long Island who has allegedly posed as a doctor for years. Now, one of those patients claims that he was misdiagnosed and may be dying. Investigative reporter Sarah Wallace joins us with her shocking exclusive.
Well, Diana and Sade, definitely this is one that could have gotten ugly. The man who was really a physician's assistant and never been a doctor went ballistic when we tried to confront him. The big question, how many patients might there be over the years who thought he was an MD and went to him for treatment?
Are you a licensed MD, sir, doctor? Are you a licensed
Get this
MD?
camera out of my face.
Why, sir?
There's a reason why John Michener didn't want to answer that question. He's not a licensed doctor in New York, never went to medical school. But on internet ads, he's listed as a family practitioner in Roosevelt, Long Island, is even highlighted as a doctor in a book about prominent African Americans. And just before we confronted him at New Health Systems, where he now works, we sent in a prospective patient to ask for an appointment with Dr. Michener.
This for Dr. Michener, correct?
Have you been practicing without a license for a number of years, sir?
Are you a doctor?
No, I'm
Are
not
you
a
a
doctor.
doctor?
I'm a reporter, and I'm asking you if you're a
I'll
licensed
ask you to
MD.
get out of my face before
Are
I
you
pray
a licensed
spray you
MD,
with
sir?
mace. Would you like some mace in your face?
Are you really going to do that? Are you threatening to mace me, sir?
That's a spray can in his hand.
You are free to close the door. Almost ran me down, too.
Neville Plummer says he started seeing the man he knew as Dr. Michener in 2003 at a different Long Island office.
You believed all along he was a doctor.
I believe he is a doctor. He always need a scrub or a white coat, or I was in the surgery, I was in this. That's how he always comes.
And it was always Dr. Michener.
Always Dr. Michener.
Plummer, a bus driver, saw his father die a torturous death from prostate cancer and wanted to make sure he didn't suffer the same fate. He says he worried that Michener never did a full physical exam.
He said the blood tells all. Those are his words, the blood tells all.
And you never got a rectal exam from him?
Never.
Last year, Plummer was rushed to an emergency room and diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer that has now spread to his bones. He says Michener refused to turn over the medical records, and the Plumbers had to hire attorney Bonita Zelman to get them.
So I immediately investigated and learned that he was not a doctor. He's only a physician's assistant masquerading as a doctor.
I was very shocked.
There's plenty of evidence now of Michener's involvement in the Plummer case. Appointment cards, a signature on a consultation report, all saying doctor. The family wants to make sure that John Michener doesn't pass himself off as a doctor to anyone else.
But it's too late for us.
You don't want it to be too late for someone.
For someone else.
Would you like some mace in your face?
Michener not only threatened to do damage with mace,
Robbie's coming back!
but was so enraged at our questions, he came back to hurl more threats.
Who are you?
Sarah Wallace, Channel 7, sir.
Okay,
Sarah Wallace, Channel 7.
Sarah Wallace, I am suing you and Channel 7 for $15 million.
And could you tell me why, sir?
Because you have no information. All
right, then I'd like to talk to you, sir. Sir, I just want to...
my attorney.
I'd like to talk to you, sir.
I'd like to talk to you, too.
Go
in
ahead,
court.
sir.
I'm suing Channel 7
Sir, all
for
I'd like to
$15
do is
million.
have you explain
Get out
to me.
of my face.
A New Health spokesperson told us that Mr. Michener has worked as a physician's assistant since early last year and is always supervised by doctors. She added that the concern with the prostate cancer patient, meaning Mr. Plummer, predated Michener's employment at New Health. As always, if you have information about this or any other investigative story, you can always call our tip line at 877-TIP-NEWS or email us at the.investigators@abc.com.
So suddenly he's a mister?
He has always been a mister.
Not a doctor.
Never a doctor.
But
one of
they
the big
kept
issues-
saying in the office, doctor, doctor, doctor.
Right.
Yes.
Nobody corrected.
And we did ask New Health about that, and they told us that the staff should always refer to a physician's assistant as a mister, never a doctor, never a doctor.
Well, now one of the bigger issues is how many other victims are out there.
And that's why we'd like to hear from people if they've had any experience with Mr. Michener thinking that he was a Dr. Michener.
Oh, what a
Thank
story.
you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
New this half hour, a new twist tonight in the case of that Long Island man accused of posing as a doctor. After our story first aired, more patients are coming forward to say they had no idea the doctor isn't a licensed MD. And now there's a question about whether he used a different name to treat patients. Investigative reporter Sarah Wallace is here with more of her exclusive. Sarah.
Well, Sade and Diana, is this a case of impersonation or a case of cahoots? That's the big question. But one thing is for real. Patients say they've been deceived, and this may be much more widespread than we first thought.
I feel violated.
Desiree Hunt says she and her 3 children watched in stunned disbelief in their Roosevelt, Long Island home last week as our story aired. We confronted this man accused of passing himself off as a doctor.
Would you like some mace in your face?
Your daughter said,
Mommy, our doctor's on TV.
the man you saw on TV
Get this camera out of my face.
is your doctor.
It's my doctor. And he's been my doctor for over 4 years.
He was the family doctor. He was your personal doctor. He was your gynecologist.
My allergist. I had pap smears done, breast exams.
But it wasn't just the shock of learning John Michener isn't really a doctor. It was hearing his real name.
I know him as Dr. Emmanuel Decade. My insurance cards, Dr. Emmanuel Decade. Prescription, doctor's notes.
Why did you think he was Dr. Decade?
Because I'll walk into the office and I'll say, "Hi, Dr. Decade, you know, how you doing?" He never corrected me on it.
She says she first went to Michener, a.k.a. Dr. Decade, at a medical office on Nassau Road, and then followed him when he joined the nearby New Health Services. So who is Dr. Decade? He's a real doctor at New Health, joining last year at the same time as John Michener, who is a physician's assistant and Decade's former business partner.
No one said he was a physician assistant. No one said, you know, they're here to assist him in any way. He was the doctor.
Hunt says she never met the real Dr. Decade, who spends most days at his practice in Far Rockaway, Queens. That's where we found him.
How can you explain to me that these patients say they've never seen you and you're supposedly their doctor?
A handful of patients, a handful. It's impossible for me to see all those patients. Impossible.
Could you tell me what your relationship is with John Michener?
Well,
He's not a doctor.
he's not a doctor. John Michener is a very, very good physician assistant.
Are you aware that he's using your name to examine patients, to write prescriptions, to fill out medical reports?
Yes, because as a physician assistant, he is under our supervision. If the patient asks to see the doctor, then I'll be more than happy to see the patient.
What happens when he says he's you? He's put himself.
Yeah, that's.
Are you aware that he has put himself out as you?
No, and that's incorrect.
Have you yourself been supervising him this entire time when he's seeing these patients? They're not aware you exist.
Under the laws, I don't need to be on the premise.
A spokesperson for New Health in a statement claimed there is always a physician on site when PA Michener is working. Desiree Hunt feels deceived by all involved and says she never would have knowingly had her family treated by a physician's assistant posing as a doctor.
God forbid something major, you know. Something major happened and I'm now finding out. What would if? It would be too late to apologize.
Several sources are telling us that John Michener is no longer working at New Health. A spokesperson said they have nothing to say about either Michener or Dr. Decade because of pending litigation, and you can bet there will be. If you have more information about this or any other investigative story, call our tip line at 877-CHIP-NEWS, or you can always email us directly at the.investigators@abc.com.
And this isn't about physician's assistants. It's about misrepresentation, right?
Absolutely. You know, they have an important role. Physician's assistants have an important role in the medical profession, but you're not supposed to call yourself a doctor, and you're certainly not supposed to pose as a doctor if you're not one.
Absolutely.
This is just so shocking. It's unbelievable. And you can just feel for that woman, you know, her tears, and she had a pap smear by this person.
Oh, and all her children went for all their physicals, and believe me, we will follow this up. There's more to come.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.